Hello, and welcome back to Mafia City RP. So it has been quite a while since a video on the Mafia City server, but in that time they have actually had a giant update, so I wanted to go over kind of all of the additions as well as changes with this update and kind of explain a little bit to you guys if you are interested in knowing. Now, before I start any more of this video, I know Mafia City is currently in kind of a rough place, in my opinion at least right now, but hopefully with these updates as well as some more rule changes, the server will get to a better point in time. But enough talking about that, let's just get straight into the update. Also, if you do want to check out different parts of the update, there will be a timestamps below. I am also getting a pop filter soon because I'm sorry about my mic being a little bit lower quality in the recent videos. Hopefully I will have that fixed soon. But again, let's start off with the additions. Now, I'm going to be showing all of the updates on screen now for the additions as I usually do, so feel free to pause the video now, read over them if you want to, or I will go over them in turn in just a little bit of time. So first of all, anything here that really applies to most people, or anything here that applies to the general population on the server, we're just going to go over the main points. So first of all, you can now scratch off serial numbers from weapons with a knife, which is actually really useful, especially for criminal RP. And you do that so by just having a knife in your hand and then going into your B menu, your weapons, and then of course just scratch serial number. And then from there, you're able to select what weapons you want to scratch a serial number off of. Now, it doesn't use up the knife, so you can do this an infinite amount of times as long as you do have a knife, which is kind of nice. Another big change that they added onto the server is now you'll be earning $1,300 every hour spent in game. Again, that does not mean every in-game hour. That means every actual hour spent in game, you'll be receiving $1,300. And to counter this, of course, group income has been reduced by $1,300 just to make up for the UBI that is being added for people who do not have jobs. So I think this is a really good change for the server because it does allow so people can kind of do whatever they want during the day and not have to worry about grinding every single day to pay for food and water. That $1,300 will obviously go to enough food for the day as well as just basic supplies, either paying rent or paying for your water and food, and just stuff to be able to stay alive day to day without having to worry about grinding out a little bit every single day to survive. They also did change the amount of weed/coke that can be sold at each location. They changed it from 125 to 180, allowing people in crims to make more money off of these illegal drugs. Now that's pretty much it for the main update features for the general public. Now they also did add some stuff so that DOC can now adjust people's sentences, which hopefully will allow for more DOCs giving lenient sentences based on prisoners' RP. They also did add some barriers, obviously, for LEOs to be able to place down. One of the biggest things actually added in this update that's really nice, and it was very much needed on the server, is now if you log off while you are downed, after 10 minutes of not logging back in, your items will be dropped on the floor. I really like this because a recent issue on the server that I've heard about a lot is people combat logging, and with this new system, you're not able to physically combat log because if you do, after 10 minutes, your stuff will be dropped on the ground. So I think this is a really great change, and hopefully will prevent a lot of people with the frustrations of people combat logging whenever they are downed. Alrighty, so I think that is going to be about it for the new additions to the server. But now we're going to be going over the new modifications to the server. Again, as I did with the additions, I will be putting them all on screen now. If you do want to read over them, you can pause the video, or again, we'll be talking about the main ones in the next section. So now, most of these modifications revolve around 3 jobs that were all overhauled and completely changed. Those 3 jobs being, first of all, the lumberjack, second of all, the miner, and third of all, the fisherman job. These are kind of the main 3 things we're going to be talking about. There are also some small changes that I will go over after we're done talking about these 3 jobs, but for now, we're going to go over these 3 jobs and talk over them real quick. So starting off with the first job that was completely overhauled, it is the lumberjack job, because of course no one really did this job before and it wasn't very great, but now it's going to be different. So now when you go up to the lumberyard and you sign up for the job by, as usual, going up to the white circle, hitting Y, and then starting the job, you will be given a forklift, and with that forklift, you will then bring it down to the trees as you normally would go to chop the trees, and you'll get, of course, get off of your forklift, and you have to now have a hatchet, and this hatchet can be purchased either from a regular gun store or from a key store. You might also be able to purchase at a general store, but I've seen it at those 2 stores already, so I know that those 2 stores do work. And what you're going to do is bring your forklift again over to the trees, get off of your forklift, take your hatchet out, and then you're going to start just hitting the trees the way you normally would with right mouse button, and then just clicking on them to chop them. You don't have to hit Y or hit any other buttons. It's literally just you start hitting them with your hatchet, and after a couple hits they will fall over, and then once they have fallen over, you're going to want to hit it, I believe, another 10 to 20 times depending on the percentage and how much it's going up. Usually from what I was doing, it seemed like it was going up by 10% every 1 to 2 hits. So it's going to take you only a little bit of time to actually chop this thing up, and once the tree is completely chopped up and turned into lumber, you're going to want to get back into your forklift, go over to the new lumber that you've just chopped up, pick it up by, I believe, hitting Y while your forklift is close to it, and then bring it all the way back up to the lumber place and drop it off there. Now, to go along with these new jobs, they also did change the profession system. So now every single level you go up, I believe it's going to be going up by 0.4%, rather than, I believe it was 0.1 or 0.2% earlier. So it's a big buff for people that have high levels in certain jobs. They can now make a lot more money and actually live probably a little bit more comfortable because they have put the time in to get to that high level. The next job we're going to be talking about is the miner job. So now with the miner job, it's still at the same start location, but when you go over to it and of course sign up for the job by hitting Y, signing on the sheet and typing in your name, you are now provided with a rebel. And once you get into the rebel, of course after unlocking it, you are able to then go drive to the different mining locations and mine different ore. I believe it was changed. So now every single ore you mine takes 30 seconds, but you can get different ores. Doing my small test, I had got stone, which I'm guessing is the most common, silver, which I'm guessing is a little bit less common, and then gold, which I'm guessing is a lot more rare. And of course, all of these different ores probably, of course I haven't tested it completely, but I'm guessing all of the different ores do give different amounts of money, with obviously the rarer ores giving more money than the cheaper ores. I think this is a really good addition because it adds kind of a mining for gold, quote unquote, aspect to the game that people over time, you know, are actually able to quote unquote strike gold or hit these low percentage ores and actually be pretty rewarded when you do get an ore that's worth a lot more money than some other ones. It really does allow people to do these jobs for a longer amount of time because there is a chance of getting some really good loot from it. After you have got the ores you want, and again they will go automatically into your car if your car is parked near the location you are mining at, you're then going to want to drive the rebel back to the start of the job, hit Y, it will both put away the rebel as well as give you the money for the ores, and you will be on your way. The last job they got in overhaul is the fisherman job, and actually I think it was actually a very good overhaul. So basically now there is a mini game for fishing. Instead of just hitting Y and then hitting Y again later on, you're now going to hit Y obviously to start fishing, and then after fishing for a little bit, once you get a fish on your hook, you are then going to have to do this mini game where you basically have to keep this fish into a certain bar, and of course change the bar by holding down left click to go up or down. This mini game, at least for the couple of minutes I played it, is actually pretty difficult, and also the higher weight fish, the harder the minigame is, which I think is really nice and hopefully is rewarding. I also believe they did change the fish prices, or at least they should have, to reflect obviously the difficulty of getting each fish. So I think it's also a really good change. It also allows it so people aren't just AFKing all day fishing. You actually have to be there and actually have to be playing that minigame over and over again, because it is a pretty difficult minigame again. And then also, once you were done, of course, you saw the fish like regular, but they also did change how the boat fishing tiers work, because they used to work off of your fishing level. Now the amount of fishing tiers is based on what boat you're doing. Now they did not release any official documents saying which boat belongs into which tier, but I'm guessing obviously the more expensive boats, such as the tugboat or the sailboats, are going to be a lot better and a lot higher level fishing tiers than the smaller jet skis or cheap boats. So that's going to be pretty much it for the jobs overhaul done in this. Again, it was the lumberjack, the miner, and the fisherman jobs that were completely overhauled. I really think there are some good changes, especially with the levels now per level giving a little bit more money. So now you're able to grind out a certain job that you enjoy and then make money from it over time, and of course increase your salary over time. Now, to go over some of the other modifications made that are pretty important, but I wanted to, of course, go through the jobs first. We're going to be talking that there is no longer a player cooldown for robberies, so now you can store and chain rob and everything on stores, and you can kind of go do these criminal activities whenever you want to, instead of having to wait, I believe, the 4 hours or 2 hours the cooldown currently was. Now you're able to rob whenever you want to, allowing for criminals to do more activities whenever they're up to it, instead of having to wait for a cooldown every 4 hours. The last part of the modifications that I thought was relevant is that there are 2 drug corners for both drugs active at the same time. Now, I'm not exactly sure what this means. I'm guessing it has something to do with the factories, but unfortunately, I do not have a factory to test that out. I'm guessing this applies to factories and being able to use coke and weed in the factory at the same time, but again, that's just a guess. I do not have access to a factory, so I unfortunately cannot test that. Now, I do think that is going to be about it for this episode. Now, I think the Mafia City, as I said before, is in a rough place at the moment, but I believe with these updates as well as hopefully some rule changes, I'm still waiting on that war rule change, because hopefully that will help us out quite a bit with the war currently going on and having that war go on for a long time. Hopefully that rule gets implemented soon, but I think overall Mafia has been making some good additions and some good changes lately, and hopefully will continue to do so, and hopefully will continue to get more popular again over time and improve in quality to the point where it once was near launch. But I do think that is going to be about it for this episode. If you did enjoy this, please leave a like, and if you want to see more, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.